So guys, what we're going to do tonight is a little bit different, a little bit of the departure. It's going to be an actual class from one of the 6 training programs. This one is the flipping program, flipping for profits without the risk. And I'll go into actual content there, not the entire program. That would take a long time, of course, but just key components, the things that if you master these key components, the rest of it falls into place. Okay. So this is the 3rd night I've done this week, and one of the lessons I learned is I'll every 4 months I'll do this. I'll deliver a content for you. In after this week, what I think I'll do is, instead of making it the same week of our 3rd week of the month for our gig sessions, is do it maybe like the 4th week and do it all in one night. I think that might be easier. Plus, this week's just been crazy with what's been happening in Texas. People are, they're cold, they have no heat, they have no electricity, and there were whole sections of people that just couldn't make it. So hopefully in June, we won't have to worry about freezing and things like that. So in any case, let's see, we're live, we're being recorded here, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome aboard, everybody. So Christopher, I don't recognize your name. Where are you from? Christopher Hood.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
I can, yep.
Cool. I'm from Reno, Nevada.
Awesome. So you're part of Shirley's group, huh?
I don't know. I actually found you guys on a Meetup when I was looking at more real estate investors / entrepreneur stuff. So not part of any group.
Okay. Well, I got some good news for you.
All right.
The lady right to your right there with the dog in her lap, she's a certified investor agent. She's right in Reno.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so they're trained to work with us investors and certified, and not only that, she's got a lot of years of experience too. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you.
What's that?
I said that's good to know. Thank you for the info.
Well, they think the good news is they have tools and strategies, and actually I'll show you a couple of those tonight. That really helps. I'm an investor myself by trade. And so this whole thing started years ago because we needed agents that understood, how to analyze properties, how to find them to begin with, right? And how to work it through with us investors through negotiating. And there's a lot of good agents out there. I'm not saying they're not, but they're typically trained to work with us to help us buy our own homes and not help us buy fourplexes and things like that, So in any case, let's go ahead. Oh, hey, I've got another person or two to promote. John Kearns, good to see you, buddy. And Chris Tolliver. There's sounds like a familiar name there, Chris Tolliver. I'm not sure why, but I know why, because I went to school with a bunch of Tollivers, a whole family of them. There's like 6 of them. I think they had their own team. How you doing, Chris? Well, we're loaded with Chris's tonight. We've even got a phantom Chris Latham. Chris, it must be.
Gary, I shared your link in the Meetup group, and I think that's Sandy on here, right?
Hi,
yes,
Sandy.
I'm here. How are you?
Good. Great. I thought you guys were just playing tricks on me. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's weird. Why am I called Chris Latham? That's weird.
Yeah,
I think it's because it's my link that I put into the Meetup group. I see a flaw in the procedure here.
Okay.
Well, Sandy, I will tell you, if Chris Latham is the name people refer to you by, that's actually a pretty good thing, because he's a pretty awesome guy. So, yep, smart, knows his stuff. So, okay, let's let me jump into the PowerPoint, and we will get rocking and rolling here. Let's see, share. Where's the PowerPoint? There we go. Okay. Okay. By the way, real quick, if you do have questions, absolutely, please ask them. If I don't recognize that you got a question, you can use the chat box. You can unmute yourself, and because there's going to be fewer than 12 of us, probably no more than 12. This is going to be a real good class. You'll get all kinds of content, and you can certainly get more details by asking questions. So, a couple things here. We do have other training programs on different subjects like buying rentals, managing rentals, wholesaling, commercial. The reason I'm doing flipping is the first one of the year is because, as you might imagine, most people are interested in flipping. And I've taught in all the 48 lower 48 states and 3 Canadian provinces, over 24,000 people. And it's always the same when I ask, would you rather flip or buy rentals? Most hands are up when it comes to flipping. And I get it. I mean, look at all the television shows. It's all about flipping brothers, flip flop, flip, whatever, all kinds of flipping shows. But there's not a single show on buying rentals, not one. And I'm pretty sure I know why, because it's not that glamorous. But it absolutely, actually, here's a quiz question for you, for the class. And you can either unmute yourself and call it out or type it in the chat box. What would you say has been the best vehicle for building wealth just in the last generation? Would it be flipping homes or would it be buying rentals? And don't be shy, just shout out or type in your answer in the chat box. Let's see what kind of answers you get. So what's a better
Buying
wealth
homes.
builder? Flipping? Yeah. It's amazing because it's our mindset tells us if we flip a home, we can make a lot of money, and you can. I mean, I'm living proof you can. Flipping, however, has more inherent risk. Everything has risk. Driving a car has risk. Buying rentals has risk. But when you're flipping homes, there's so many things beyond your control. Interest rates, the availability of money to begin with, the market itself. I mean, if anybody was around in late 2007, you saw how fast the market can change. It was like overnight. It's crazy. The other thing too is when a flip doesn't go right, and unfortunately that happens about 1/3 of the time, doesn't mean you necessarily lose money, but maybe it takes 9 months instead of 3 months. Or maybe it does take more money because you open up a wall to replace a pipe, and then you got to replace all the wiring, and just goes on and on and on. The point is this: if you can discipline yourself to start off by, and here I am teaching a class on flipping, and I'm encouraging you to do rentals. But if you start off acquiring rentals, build a solid foundation of cash flow, okay? Even if it's one at a time, a single family home here, and then maybe end of the year you buy a duplex, and 3 years later, maybe you've got 6 or 10 units. It's a foundation upon which you can do other things. It also builds your competence, which builds your confidence. And so let's say then you go out to flip a home, and maybe the first one doesn't do so well for you, where most people who started off flipping have a bad time on their first flip. It might knock them out of the race forever. They may never get back in the game, okay? But someone who's been tested over time by rentals, you generally have thicker skin, you understand the market better, you understand contractors and how to deal with municipalities. And so if something doesn't go wrong, it doesn't knock you out of the game. Plus you've got a foundation of existing properties building equity and cash flow. So does that make sense so far, the way I'm describing it? I know it's counterintuitive because all the shows are telling you flip homes and then you can buy rentals. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a lot of years. That almost never works out. It's human nature. People start flipping homes, they make money, they just keep flipping homes, and they keep spending the money, unfortunately. Rentals is a forced discipline, right? It's forced savings. Every month you got the rent checks coming in, okay? So there's it's human nature factors that I think play a large part in that dynamic. So in any case, let's jump into some flipping. And so in spite of what I just said, many of you might want to go ahead and start flipping right away. And I'm not necessarily against it. I'm just saying long-term, having rentals as a foundation is a pretty good thing. So, okay, when we flip homes, we actually use a lot of data to tell us where we're going to flip and what we're going to flip. I know it makes sense. We want information. We want 3 things. You can write this down if you like. We want the right education. Then we want the right information. Then we want to take the right action steps, right? And then we have the right results. It's a simple formula: education plus information plus action equals results. So we always start by educating ourselves. That's why we read books and take training programs and things like that. By the way, tonight, it actually is a class. I'm not here to try to sell you anything like that. It'll come up in the discussion where the content comes from. But really, if you guys are interested in pursuing this, I highly encourage you to connect with, Teresa, Shirley, Chris, and Trisha. They're the ones that are trained to be certified investor agents, and they have these tools. They have these strategies and these methods to help you. And if you decide you want to, get a book or get a training program. Actually, I tell you what, tomorrow, guys, I'll have Beverly send the investor agents the link for the book on the subject, Flipping for Profits Without the Risk. And you can send that to the folks on the webinar tonight, your clients, okay? So in any case, so back to this. This is called a school report. It actually has nothing to do with school information, school ratings, school rankings, anything like that. It has everything to do with real estate sales data by school area. So Hopewell's a school area, Butler's a school area, South Butler's a school area, so forth and so on. Every school area has two columns, an active column and a sold column, okay? We want to know literally what's actively for sale in an area, and we also want to know what has sold in the same area. And we do this in 90-day intervals. So just to clarify, the day the report is run, we know how many homes are actively for sale on the day the report's run. The sold column is going back over 90 days. It's a 90-day report, okay? So for example, the last 90 days, 26 homes sold in the Hopewell School District between 100 and 150,000. Now this is an old chart. Down here is where you guys mostly are, 400 to 1 million. But we also know today in Hopewell, 35 homes are actively for sale. So the way you want to look at this report, your eyes are drawn to all these numbers. They're not drawn down here to all the zeros. They're typically drawn to the numbers. And what we're looking for is a magical combination of supply and demand. So supply is what's actively listed for sale. Demand is told to us by how many homes have actually sold, okay? And you want to have obviously higher demand than supply. Not too high though. There's actually a sweet spot, like maybe 2 to 3 buyers in a 90-day period for every one active house, something like that. So for example, let's look at the Seneca School area, and let's go to the second, third, and fourth rows. Between 150 and 200,000, which is the second row, we can see 28 homes are actively for sale now, and 65 is sold in the last 90 days. 2 to 250, there's 15 active and 39 sold, and 250 to 3, 13 active and 35 sold. We'll just stop right there. We have 3 price brackets where we have demand that's higher than supply, roughly 2 to 3 buyers in a 90-day period for every one active sold to every active listing today. So if you think about that, what that means is in this first area between 150 and 2, 65 homes in 90 days, that's just about a home every 1.5 days, okay? We know there's 28 of them active right now, all right? Down here, we'll skip the 2 lines, go to 250 to 300,000. 35 homes are sold 90 days, that's about one every 3 days. And there's 13 active, so 3 times 13 is about 39 days, okay? So in any case, we kind of have a days on market of somewhere between 30 and 45 days. The closer to 30 days, the better. But if it's too short, and many of you know this because the way the market is right now, let's say you've got like 5 or 7 days on market. That means demand is way higher than supply. And it's going to be too competitive for our flippers in those areas, right? So we got to find, again, the sweet spot where we have supply and demand. People want to sell and people want to buy. And it's a healthy economy. It's a healthy neighborhood. So in any case, so far, is everybody okay? If you could, just type yes in the chat box or amen, whatever floats your boat, or you can do a hand raise. You can click on the hand raise button and just let me know that so far school report is making sense. Okay, good. We're doing pretty good so far. Thanks, guys. By the way, thanks for participating. It tells us teachers that you're still there and you're awake. So in any case, this is so much different teaching. Teresa has a question. Yes, so would that make the 300 to 350 range being the sweet spot? So let me go to 3 to 350. That's 24 to 28. So Teresa, that would be more of an equal. Actually, let's think about this. 28 homes are sold in 90 days. That's one every 3 days. There's 24 now, and 24 times 3 would be about 60, 70, but maybe close to 75 days. that would be a little bit too long of a days on market. So in other words, demand is not high enough relative to supply. You really want to have demand 2 to 3 times supply. Remember, it's a 90-day look back on the sold, so it's kind of a weird way to look at it, but essentially in a 90-day period, you want to see roughly 2 to 3 solds for every one currently active listed property today. So thank you for the question too, by the way, I appreciate that. Okay, now we have a challenge here, and it's this: the MLS data, the MLS doesn't give us all the data on all the properties sold in the area or active listings. In fact, it's for investor properties like multi units, it's maybe less than half. So we have some other tricks up our sleeve. We use another tool called melissa.com. I know it says Melissa data, that's actually not correct. It's melissa.com. And guys, all the investor agents have these tools and these links, so you can get them from them also. But in any case, sorry, I thought somebody was texting me from the class. In any case, we use this. It's from the U.S. Postal Service, and it tells us in every carrier route how many people live there, what they make, and the average property value. So we skip the PO boxes, obviously, and focus on the city routes, okay? Now, remember in our school report, in our example, we determined that we should be trying to flip or attempting to flip between 150 and 300,000. That's the sweet spot, okay? Well, what we're looking for here are neighborhoods that are selling between 150 and 3. There's one right here at 202, another one at 292, another one down here at 276. I'm not saying these other areas are bad. They're probably nice areas, but they're outside the range. Whoops, sorry, a little bit too sensitive there. But here's why this is important. We know the school area. We also know school areas can sometimes cross zip code lines. And this report is given to us by zip code. So we have to look sometimes at all the zip codes served by a school area. They bring them up one zip code at a time. And these carrier routes, they're sort of synonymous with area fields. In the MLS, we call the area field, or neighborhood. Just think of it as a neighborhood. Okay, so we're looking for neighborhoods selling between 150 and 3. And we found 3 of them. And the beautiful thing is this map button here can be copied. And you can now search in your MLS based on the map view of that area. In this area, in this area, there's 3 areas. You do 3 searches, do a map view search, okay? So in any case, right now, what we've been able to determine is where we want to flip a home. We know the school area, we know the neighborhoods. And by the way, why is it so important for us when we're flipping homes to focus on school areas? So go ahead and type in your answer. Why is it important for us as flippers to focus on focus on the school areas when we're flipping homes? Just type in what you think the answer is. And let me check the chat box. Let's see what we get here. Schools bring buyers. That's exactly right, Sandy. So think about if you're flipping typically 3 to 4 bedroom homes, ranches and 2 stories, you're typically going to be selling to families with children. And as soon as they say we want to be in a good neighborhood, the next thing they say is, and we want our children to go to school in a good school area. That's exactly right. So in any case, thank you very much for that. Now we got one more test to do here. We call it the litmus test, okay? So there's all kinds of demographic and social graphic factors involved in real estate. And the good news is our US Census provides all of that data. And your local planning commissions use that same data to determine where they're going to build the next school or park or bridge or road, okay? And so we get to see the makeup of the areas. So here's why this is important, for example. Would you agree that being around a campus, a college university campus, is probably a good idea if you want to rent properties? You can rent properties to the students, okay? However, a family raising 2 or 3 children might not want to be on the same street as a frat house because they don't want their children being kept up all night by frat parties, okay? I'm not knocking frats. I'm just saying that's kind of what happens. I went to college. I admit it. I wore togas and drank beer and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I can tell you there was very few families immediately around us. They were smart. So in any case, this neighborhood, by the way, the largest segment of the population happens to be 50 to 54 years old, all right? Those folks now have children in high school and college, getting out of college and things like that. They may be thinking of selling and downsizing, moving to the coast, whatever. And this is probably a good area to flip in because you probably have decent homes, decent area. Maybe they're now 30-year-old homes and they need new kitchens and carpeting and roofing and things like that. Perfect inventory for flipping homes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take just a quick pause here to catch my breath and let you guys ponder what we just did. And if you have questions, now would be a good time to ask them. Because if you grasp this first part, I promise you, your flipping business is going to thrive. All right. You're going to make good, informed, educated decisions. Remember, education plus information. By the way, if you notice, how much does this stuff cost us so far? All this information. Completely free. There's all kinds of tools you can use. And I'll show you all kinds of websites later on if you want to, but these right here, public information, open, available to everybody. And it's some gold mine to help you know where you should be flipping homes. Okay, let me check the chat box and see if we are all caught up. And I think we got one more to go. Let's see. Okay, Sandy, do you have a list of the information sites? I do. In fact, I'll show you. Okay. By the way, Sandy, anything here that you see and you want, let me first get out of the PowerPoint here. Just check in with Chris. Okay, Chris Latham. All the investor agents across the country, we've got agents in about half the states. It's like a network. They have everything I'm showing you. They have it. It's part of their membership, so to speak. But in any case, let me show you, since you asked, where we keep some of that stuff. Okay, so this is what we call our members area. And if you scroll down on the resource tab, there's like hundreds of videos on everything from 1031 exchange to, creative purchasing techniques, analyzing flips, analyzing rentals. It's literally over 300 webinars recorded. There's other kinds of the typical stuff, blogs and podcasts and premiere books and all this kind of stuff. Oh, by the way, so the guys on the team, if you're interested, I would everybody type in their email addresses so you can share with each other. And if you're not an investor agent, let's see, who was the other? Let me just do a quick check here. Let me do a stop share. So we've got so many Christophers. Okay, so Christopher Hood, I recommend you check in with Shirley, share emails, because she'll give you all this stuff. And Chris Tolliver, where are you from?
Right now I'm living in New York, but I'll be in Tahoe soon enough.
Tahoe? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got two people kind of nearby. You got Teresa Green and Shirley Ingersoll. They're equidistant from Tahoe, just about. So
Excellent.
Tahoe's not a bad place to be, by the way. So spent many days and weekends up there, either having fun in the sun or freezing on top of the mountain, trying to pretend you how to ski.
Excellent.
So, yep. So let me go back to share screen, and I'm going to show Sandy and everyone where we keep all this stuff. Okay, website resources. Whoops, did it click? Oh, here it goes. So Sandy, we keep a running list of these things. Some of these are miscellaneous sites. Some of these are paid sites. Okay. Apple is another way to look at the banking world, how to get access to banks and bank contacts. Same with Scotsman's Guide. Marcus Millichap is a great multifamily. They're a big broker, and one of my old brokers now is one of their managing brokers. You got the HUD website, Data USA. This is an awesome website. Data USA, absolutely flat out one of the best I've seen. Bank Tracker lets you see what banks have foreclosures. You know what we'll do, guys? We'll play around with that here in a little bit. There's government websites, okay, and then there's websites by subject, investor agent. These are the folks you want to work with. Websites on flipping, buying rentals, managing rentals, wholesaling. We've even got Canadian links here. If any fellow Canucks in the class tonight. I'm a part-time Canuck. We call ourselves Canucks up in Canada. But right now, I've got my sights set on next Friday when I head down to Florida. So normally, by the way, this was the year I'd be in California, but plans got switched around due to this virus going around. Anyways, that's some of the websites we have. Let's do this. I'm going to go to the banking website, guys. Okay, and show you another way that we can find inventory for our fellow investors. Let me get the pictures out of the way here. So Bank Tracker is a investigative workshop website that was created by American University grad students and I think NBC News back probably 20 years ago. And it was so popular. It was a graduate study program is what it was. And it's so popular, they have more hits than almost any other website I've ever seen. So broadly speaking, you can see how many banks are FDIC insured, which means they follow federal regulations, over 5,000. Total deposits across the country, total loans, total assets, total troubled assets, which is a good number for us to know about, and the average troubled asset ratio, okay? So in any case, well, there's articles and stuff you can read too, by the way. But let's go check in. And let's see if we can find a bank in one of your areas and see what we can find. So I guess Chris or Shirley, can you guys think of a local bank in Reno or Sparks that we could type in and kind of check it out a little bit, see what's going on? Like a local community bank.
I'm thinking there's a Nevada State Bank.
Let's see what we get. By the way, this website was not created by computer science students. It was created by business students, so it's a little bit slow. I'm not knocking people with business degrees. I should be careful what I say. But it's not like written. It wasn't written for us consumers to use, by the way. So Nevada State Bank.
Yeah, I believe that's a local one.
Did I spell Nevada wrong?
Nope.
I don't know why it's underlined in red.
Because it's not capitalized.
Aha, thank you. Well, it didn't find it. The bank must be healthy. I'm not sure why it didn't find it, but we could. Every bank that's FDIC insured should be out here. Is it a credit union perhaps?
I don't think it's a credit union. Trying to think what around here would be another.
Let me just see. Nevada. Let me type in Nevada and see what pops up here. Here's Nevada Bank and Trust Company.
Yeah.
In Caliente, and here's State Bank and Trust Company, Nevada. First National Bank in Nevada, Missouri. Oh, Nevada, Missouri. Okay. See, you guys I'm getting old here. You can't play these tricks on me like this. I'm just kidding. Pennsylvania is famous for things like that. Pennsylvania has Indiana, Pennsylvania, California. Pennsylvania is crazy. Okay, let's pick on one here. Let's go to the Nevada Bank and Trust Company. So let's do this. Let's go to the State Bank and Trust Company. Look at their troubled assets.
They're in Iowa.
I tell you what. Hey, Shirley. Oh, they're in Iowa?
Right there, Nevada, Iowa.
Okay, well, check this one out. Yep.
Yeah.
Check this out. Look at the Valley Bank of Nevada. It's in North Las Vegas. Look at the troubled asset ratio.
Yep.
That's crazy. Let's click on it and see what we can find out here. And when you can leave the search bar blank and just search for the highest troubled asset ratios, if you want to do it that way too, that's probably a faster way. But in any case, here's the deal. All right, this bank is a really small bank. It's got about 200 million in assets, 182 million in deposits, 126 in loans, loan loss provision is almost astronomical for that size of a bank. 176, no, that's sorry, that's 1,000, that's not million, so it's 176,000, that's tiny. No wonder this bank's in trouble. Although they made a pretty good profit. Capitalized at 13 million. Let's see, reserves. These are so these reserves here can be used for investing. They're not meant to cover lost loans. Any case, here's what we're getting at. Total troubled assets is almost $2 million. These are loans that are past due by 90 days or more. They haven't been taken over yet by the bank. They're in trouble, but the owners still owe them. Versus these over here, where it says other real estate owned, almost 2 million here, 1,993,000. These are ones the bank has already taken over. So what I like to do is I like to not go try to do the short sales or pre-foreclosures. I try to focus on the ones that have already been foreclosed on, because there's nothing you can do to salvage the property. The owner's already lost it. Pre-foreclosure, it gets very tricky and sticky and all kinds of stuff. But here, this could be one home or it could be 10 homes. The only way to find out is if you go to the tax assessor's database for that county, you can type in the bank name, right? In this case, Valley Bank in Nevada, and it'll pop up all the properties that they own. The one of the key features here is this, guys. If you notice, they've already got almost 2 million in foreclosures. They've got another 2 million near foreclosure and troubled assets. And look at the loan loss provision. It's only $176,000. I'm sure they've already drawn off of that account a lot. Here's some key things to remember about this. When this goes to zero, the bank has to do something. They typically will take money from reserves, okay, or some other assets, which is a big bad no-no, because whoever owns the bank, typically investors like us, are gonna cry bloody murder. All right, we're gonna fire the CEO and replace him. But if we don't, the federal government will. They'll step in. They'll say, "Look, you're running the risk of being insolvent here. You've already got 2 million in foreclosures, REOs, real estate owned. You got another 2 million on the way. You've only got 176,000 bucks to cover it, because this 1.744 million wasn't intended to cover lost loans. It was intended to invest. If they can't use this money to invest, that bank's not making money. I mean, investing, I mean like making loans, okay? So here's what I'm getting at. The higher the troubled asset ratio, the faster I'd go visit that bank. This bank, right, if I was living there, I'd go visit that bank tomorrow, okay? All right, let me check the chat box. I saw some questions coming in here. This one usually generates a lot of interest. Okay, let's see. Teresa, so they want to offload REOs? Yes. So Teresa, and what's interesting is I used to be a banker. I was a corporate VP, and I did mergers and acquisitions for you probably, it's called PNC Bank. You've probably heard of them. In any case, in the world of accounting, what happens is you've got assets and liabilities, just real basic stuff here. When it comes to a house, to the owner of the house, the person living there, the house is the asset, and their loan, the mortgage, is a liability. But over on the banker side, which one is the asset, which one's a liability? Let's see who can guess. Go ahead and unmute yourself or type it in the chat box. So to a bank, which is the asset and which is a liability? Is the loan the asset to the bank, or is the house the asset to the bank? It's the loan. The loan is the asset. The bank doesn't want the house, you know? So what happens when a bank takes a house back over in foreclosure, that loan doesn't just get knocked down to zero, like the asset doesn't just go to net zero. It's a double negative, because now they've got this red herring, this house they have to sell. Yes, it may have brick and mortar value, but they're not real estate people. They don't want that. They got to pay insurance on it and taxes, and just sitting there. It's an eyesore too, usually for the neighborhood. So they want to sell that thing. And I'm here to tell you, banks will often play hardball with you, particularly when the market is pretty good like it is. It's hot right now. It's a hot market. they're not as much under pressure to negotiate. This bank they're going to want to get rid of this property. Believe me, it's probably 2 properties, maybe 4. But what I'm getting at is, if you go to visit a bank and they play hardball with you, just say, okay, thanks, but no thanks. I'll wait. I'll go find a better deal. Good luck with this house, something like that. Don't be surprised if they call you 3 days later, especially if you offered cash. Okay. Remember, they've already lost 1 loan on this house. They might not want to make another loan on it. They want to get rid of it. So here's a good script you can use. I'll give you the realtor version first. So this is the investor agents representing flippers. I first determine the bank I'm going to visit, right? And I used to actually go to the county tax assessor's website to see what properties they own. I don't do that anymore. It just doesn't matter because they're going to tell you what they want to sell anyways. So I would go in and say, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a realtor in the area, and I have clients who are interested in properties just like yours. Okay. Now, usually at this point, it'll get a raised eyebrow. They look at you. What exactly is you're talking about? Then you would say, I'm talking about by the way, don't say foreclosure in the bank. Don't ever do that. Right. Use the word non-performing asset. Okay. You can use that and that'll work. And they might say something like, well, I don't do that part of the work here. Shirley Ingersoll does that. Okay. And I would say, great. And ask them 5 questions. Who's Shirley? Where is Shirley located? How do I contact Shirley? What's Shirley's contact information? And when's the best time to contact Shirley? Who, what, where, when, how? Okay. And then I would also ask for an introduction. So let's say Chris Tolliver is the branch manager I'm speaking with. I'd say, Chris, would you mind giving her a phone call, letting her know I'll be reaching out to her? Okay. Look for a warm introduction. Works like a charm. Now, if you're approaching these folks as an individual investor, then you would change the language pattern. You, instead of saying, I have clients interested in properties like yours, I would just say, I'm interested in properties like yours. But what I'm going to tell you here is, in all my years, I had more success visiting the branches as a realtor representing people than I did as an individual person representing myself. I have no idea why. I'm just telling you that was the hard facts. Is when I went in by myself. Now, probably is because the way I was dressed back then. I'd drive up in my truck and get out wearing jeans and boots and stuff like that. But when I go in as an agent, I'm typically wearing khakis, a button-up collar shirt, and driving a sedan. And I usually have a briefcase with me too, by the way. In fact, I'll give you a real secret here for the investor agents. In the old days, I would literally keep my list of clients with me, print it off every week, update it, highlight in yellow the people who are active. And one time in a bank branch, the subject came up, the guy said, well, who is it you're talking about? And I said, oh, in fact, I've got it right here. Here's the list of my clients. The ones in yellow are the ones actively buying right now. These are the ones who want a house just like yours. Got a listing just like that. So in any case, great way to get inventory. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is you're going to see more and more banks having troubled asset ratios increasing over the next few months and years. Now, everybody always asks me, what do I think is going to happen? And I will tell you the lawyer's answer, which is it depends. So the last recession, people were calling for it as early as 2002. The people that really knew what was happening in the lending business. Of course, the media didn't listen. The government was being lied to. And it wasn't until 2007, 5 years later. So the economy was artificially being supported. We had all these bad loans out there, and people were still investing in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on the stock market, right? You bundle up the mortgages, you sell them. They didn't know that those blocks of mortgages had bad notes in there. They didn't know that. They found out later. They were being lied to. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Barron's, because Barron's actually was calling for the recession even before the year 2000. He looked back at the Carter years when they first came up with housing urban development, to where home ownership should be 2/3 of the economy. And I agree with that. And then in the 90s, That was that Clinton administration, through regulatory changes, lowered the credentials or the requirements for borrowing money for mortgages. So more people would be eligible to borrow money. And between the 70s and the 80s, by the way, back in the 70s, one more thing happened. That's when a Wall Street guy came up with the idea of packaging up mortgages and selling them as an investment on Wall Street to recoup the capital and re-lend it out again. So banks, it's called fractional lending. So let's say, Chris, you make $1 million deposit at that bank in Nevada, and they do FHA underwriting, so they can sell their mortgages. They block them up, sell them, get the money back. So that money that you deposited there, they lend out, but they lend it out. They keep 10% in loan loss reserves, and sell the remaining 90%. They get the money back on the 90%. Then they loan out the 90%, 90,000 or 900,000, excuse me. Then they keep 10% in reserves, loan loss provisions, lend out the remainder of that. Well, as you can imagine, they can lend that money out 10 times. And here's what happened in the last recession. It was mainly Countrywide Mortgage was the big culprit. All it takes in that chain there, all it takes is one of those mortgages to go south. Because if you think about it, if they're only keeping 10% each time that money's lent out, at the end of 10 loans, they've lent out all 100% of it. Okay. And they have loan loss reserves to cover exactly one loan, the equivalent of one loan. So if one loan goes bad, all those reserves are eaten up. If it happens enough times, right, it totally gobbles up all the loan loss provisions. And usually about 10% into their loan portfolio, they start getting in trouble. The feds will come in, they'll take over, they'll replace the CEO, do all kinds of stuff. So banks that are called portfolio lenders, and this is something you want to write down, our portfolio lender does not sell their mortgages. They don't have to follow all those FHA guidelines. They have to follow the bank regulations, but not FHA. FHA is only there if you're going to resell your mortgages. So portfolio lenders can be more flexible. They have more lending programs for people like us who buy rentals and flip homes. So please remember, portfolio lender is where you want to go do your banking or your borrowing for investing, and they typically are community banks. Community banks are more likely to be portfolio lenders. The big banks, all of them sell their mortgages. Okay, I think I beat that horse to death. Let me check the chat box here. You guys like this website, by the way? Isn't this cool? Let's see. Oh, you can check Plumas Bank for the Nevada area. It is in Shirley's area. Plumas Bank, let's go do that real quick. And then we'll move on to the next subject. Plumas Bank. So I guess I got to go back one spot. Sorry if I keep squinting or blinking my eyes. It's my, I've been going pretty strong this week. Four business days full of work and then 4 webinars, one each night of the week. Okay, let's see if Plumas pops up. Plumas. Is it thinking about it still? Let me start typing it over again here. Sometimes when you just start typing it, sorry, it's frozen. Hang on just a second. See, the website, it's just, I don't think it's designed, it doesn't have the bandwidth to handle a lot of users at the same time. Okay. Let's type it in again, give it a second to warm up. Plumas Bank, there we go. Troubled asset ratio is 2.94. They got 3.2 in trouble loans, 763,000 in REO, and reserves 2.8. So they're not in too bad a shape. I would still approach them because I know they got at least 1 house in foreclosure, possibly 2. That probably 2 right there actually. But I would go talk to them. I mean, any troubled asset ratio above 0 means they've got some troubled assets. But the higher the better. The higher the better. So, and again, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, guys, and see where we left off here. Let's see, current slide. Actually, we just showed Bank Tracker. All right, I'm not going to really go into the letter so much. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to show you guys. I want to show you how we actually get our inventory. This will really, this will enlighten you a pretty good bit. So we can, all the investor agents know how to go into county records, court records, property records, all kinds of stuff to identify individual owners that need to or want to sell. Maybe they're in pre-foreclosure, maybe they're in bankruptcy, maybe they're in probate. You know, we can even look up the divorce records and landlord tenant cases is a great one to look up because let's face it, it's no fun when you have to evict tenants. No fun for anybody. So we use a tool. Okay. And this tool actually goes in for us into the court records and property records and all that to obtain owner information for us. So for example, let's do a quick test here. So Sandy, I want to call on you if you don't mind. Sandy, if you could unmute yourself, give me a good zip code for you anywhere around where you live, because we can find probate leads, bankruptcy leads. I'll go into property leads.
Can we,
Let's see,
can we do 92880?
92880. Yes, we can.
Sure.
So let's see, 92880. We got to give it a minute to, it's going to go access the data, which, oh, that was fast. Okay. So in this particular search panel, Sandy, we can search for absentee owners, people that own the property free and clear, people upside down on the mortgage. I mean, every one of these categories we can search by independently or collectively. We can see who the board investors are. We can see if a property is listed for sale. We can see if it's in foreclosure, vacant, pre-foreclosure, inherited, all kinds of things. And by the way, we can also search by property type and owner type. So let's just do a broad search first to see if you got anything out there. Great area, by the way, too. And with any luck, I'll be back out there by late spring, early summer. So we'll have to see how the vaccinations go. Hopefully quickly. Okay, great place to be investing. Corona, Downey, Norco, that whole area out there, it's great. Okay, so you actually got quite a bit, Sandy. 14,851 leads. So we're going to have to narrow that one down. So Sandy, do you have any interest at all in rentals? If you had the skills, you know, like the knowledge and the capital, would you be interested in picking up some rentals?
Well, even if I don't have the knowledge and the skills, I'm already juggling
Okay.
the 92880.
Okay. Well, what I want to do is I'm going to, you broke up there just a little bit. I think I got the gist of it. I'm going to narrow this down to just the absentee owners, which we know to be landlords, people who own rentals, and see if we can shorten the list. And we did, thank goodness. 2,833. Well, let's go down a wee bit more and add vacancies so we can get a shorter list. That's really short. So that's 17. So in your area, you've got 17 properties that are rentals and vacant. Actually, do you know where River Road is in Eastvale?
River Road is, I do, but I'm not really sure that a properties are, I'm thinking it might be vacant land.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back here. Yeah, that looks like back when I was a kid, when we had farms, and we called that scratch because it looked like a bunch of chicken scratches across it and not much there. So let's pick what I was going to show you is the cool thing is we get let's just take the next one on Shinkle Drive. So what we get is we don't just get the property address, we actually get the owner's information too. So This looks like aha. You know, it's amazing, guys. I've actually taught a class in Ottawa, Tennessee. I have a cousin who lives there too, by the way. So the owner lives in Ottawa, Tennessee, and they own this property on Shingle Drive. That actually looks like a pretty nice area there. Look at that. Look at the park area.
So this
In any case,
information, is this information real similar to what's on Remine or, yeah, Remine, I think?
similar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, your Remine, Rebo Gateway, Sync, they're all similar. The difference is those are more like for realtors. This website here was actually not made for realtors. I bought it. I'm an investor. It's made for investors. That's why I bought it. But I liked it so much when I started building the team of investor agents around the country. I called them. I said, "Can I buy this? Because I have agents all over the country. We want to have the search capability because it's really good." So the thing I like about it, Sandy, is it doesn't go against list. See, a lot of times with Remine and Rebo Gateway and Zillow and all those things, they're regurgitating data back, and it's not real time. This is actual real time data. So the search we just did actually occurred right there on the spot, going against the county data. So it's very clean and accurate. And the other thing too is the other systems are sometimes lacking as far as their search capability. We can search like all kinds of categories here, you know. But in any case, so we get the property address and the owner's information, and we get what's called an artificial intelligence score. And the higher the better. So this one clearly will be a better retail sale. So I would use this to get a regular listing, you know, or possibly a flip. But it wouldn't be a good rental and it wouldn't be a good wholesale. Don't know why, but that's just what the artificial intelligence tells us. I do like the area though. I like the way that looks, you know, pretty neat. So what we can do is this. We can do a direct mail. Actually, let me show you some of the letters we use. So we have a couple letters on our team that are homegrown that we've perfected over the years. But this system also has postcards and brochures and their own letters. And the thing I like about them is they're all written with particular language patterns that match their search criteria. Okay. So in other words, we can write, there's 4 different letters we can write to people who are absentee owners with a rental property or absentee owners with a vacancy, you know, cash buyers. I mean, the list goes on and on. Distressed seller, you know, bankruptcy, foreclosure, high equity, tax liens, you know, renters, probate. It's all in there. And the guys on the team will download these letters, edit them to reflect them, and then use a direct mail campaign right here where they sort merge everything. So each letter goes out individually addressed. The letter itself has their personal name on it and their property address. And the thing I like about them, just like you saw, they're actually mechanically produced, so they actually look like they're really handwritten. Not the old yellow letter laser print stuff. This is actual mechanical print. It's like an old printing press. You know, I'm going to show you a few more things here, guys. This is just some of the reasons I like this. It wasn't just all the ability to search for people and properties, but it has these amazing analysis tools. And I'll show you the repair estimator. So if you ever wonder if there's a way to really get laser beam focused. Oops, did I click on it? Yes, I did. Okay. We have all kinds of forms and calculators on our websites for the team and our agents in the global investor groups. But these tools here are off the chart. So let's look at Tanner Road here. We're going to look at a repair estimate for Tanner's Road. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is an online real-time tool that you know, Chris and Shirley and Teresa and everybody, all the investor agents have access to. It's going to take a second to load up, so hang on one second. I don't think I've got to hit the. Oh, it's still loading. I'm sorry. Yep, we're going to wait because we want to see the data. Okay, here we go. What's really neat about it is it's very thorough and very detailed and it's somewhat intuitive. You have to tell it, like for a roof, for example, how much square feet or how many squares you have. In this case, it's in square feet. Square feet's easy to calculate. You take your length times your width, and depending on the pitch of the roof, you have another factor in there, like you multiply it by 6, for example, then divide by 9 and you get your we'll call it a square. Then we know what the cost per foot is. In this case, it's in feet. And it gives you the total. We're scrolling down. It automatically plugs in other figures. These are figures that the system plugged in, not us, like repairing, patching, rollover, roof sheathing, fascia. It provides all. When we tell it what we need, it fills in the rest for us, which is really slick. In any case, power washing. Then we get into the interior painting, carpeting, flooring. Then we get into countertops, appliances, bathrooms, vanities, sinks, toilets, all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the chart, it brings everything together in a total. Okay, so we can see the total for this project is $27,431.25. That's just the repair estimator. It also has, let's go back out to, I want to go back, actually I probably could have stayed there. Hang on one second. Let's look at the deal analyzer, okay? So this tells you in financial terms, it takes into account rehab, of course, but it tells you in financial terms whether or not this was a good deal. So let's just pick one of these. Let's click this one here, Cedar Crest, I think. We'll look at that one. It's going to take a second to load. So, all right. So first thing is you tell it what type of investment is this? Is it a flip? Is it a hold or is it a lease option? We believe this is a flip based on the data entered. So it gives you, like you tell it what you believe the as-is value is or what you think you're going to pay for it, okay? And you can plug in the assessed value from your county's tax assessor database. The percentage of purchase price allocated to land, I think that's a little high there, but we'll leave it there. Let's see, we go to the next panel, which is a financing panel. And we can see here, we're going to borrow $108,000. We're going to pay some points on it. Interest rate is 4.5. Okay, we're going to finance the purchase and then we're going to remodel it. Remodeling is $38,100. We go to the next panel, gives us the holding cost. Right, as you hold the property, you've got to pay property taxes, insurance, things like that. Okay, utility bills while you're remodeling it. Adds all that up. At the end of the day, you determine the after repair value, and this is really important. This figure has to be right. Okay, yes, you got a tiny bit of wiggle room, especially in a hot market like today. You can push the market by as much as 10%, no doubt about it. But this is sort of the final litmus test if you're going to go forward with this project. Remember, we said we were modeling it for 38, we'd buy it for 135. That's about $173,000 sunk cost, and the remainder, what's left from that is 173. That's going to be 27 plus 12, about a $40,000 profit. Okay, just about 20%, and I would do that. I would do that deal. Okay, so. You guys like this stuff? Do you like this? Actually, raise your hand or type in the chat box if you like this tool. When I found this, it was so. Sandy, remember when I told you Remine and Rebo Gateway and Sync and all those? They're good systems, but sometimes they tend to be lacking in certain tools. This is one of the things I was talking about, and it is an amazing, amazing resource. So, okay, now since we talked about ARV. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. So let's go back here, current slide. By the way, we have all kinds of forms also on our website, but having shown you the ones we just use in the system, there's really no need to kind of go over those. But I want to go over two things here, ARV and MAO. Okay, so ARV is at the repair value. It's synonymous with an appraisal value, or we consider, a marketable value. The house is moving condition. It's readily marketable. Okay. Again, somebody's got to be the expert, either you or your agent. In this case, we highly encourage you to use investor agents because they're certified and they know how to do this using really good tools, not just using the MLS. We have other tools in addition to MLS. Okay, MAO is what we call the maximum allowable offer. Now, here's how this works. Let's say your ARV is 250,000. Okay, we would knock off right off the bat. Actually, let's say it's 500,000. Your ARV is 500,000. As a general rule, what we recommend is you first allow off 30% off of that, 20% for profit, and 10% for overhead, carrying costs, things like that. Now, as you might imagine, that's a lot of money. So 30% of 500,000 is 150,000. Well, you subtract that from the 500, leaving you with 350,000. But we still have to account for the remodeling. So let's say remodeling is going to be 50,000 based on your repair estimate. So now you're down to 300,000. 300,000 is the most you can pay for this property. Okay. Now you might think, why would anybody sell a $500,000 property for 300,000? But they're not selling a $500,000 property. That was the ARV. The as-is value might be more like 350. Okay. So you're only asking 50,000 off of 350. That's 1/7, which is about 12%. Not that big a deal. But the reality is the MAO, we don't ever budge on. The only thing we'll do is we'll knock off a few extra dollars to give us some wiggle room, some negotiating room. In a tight market, it's not as easy to do that. Sometimes you got to pay more. But in a tight market, we do know that statistically on the back end, when we're ready to sell the house after it's remodeled, that we can sometimes command an additional 10%. We don't like to rely on it because, sometimes margins are already tight enough. And one little mistake, you think you need, 10,000 for a brand new bathroom, and it turns out you need 15. I mean, might not sound like that big a deal, but 5,000 is a lot of money. But the main point is this: the ARV is probably the most important number, and the second most important number is the MAO. Because if you cheat on either one of those, it could either cost you a deal. You're not going to be competitive if you're too low, or it could cost you profit if you go too high, like on the initial purchase, and you squeeze your profit margin. So, okay, tell you what, let me check the chat boxes. I see there's a couple of chats there. And those are really, guys, those are really the main things I wanted to show you. Anybody can read books and take training programs. There's all kinds of forms and calculators and spreadsheets, and I'll show you guys some of this stuff. Let me get out of the PowerPoint here. And let's go back to our, okay, we don't need that. Plumas Bank, we saw that. Dashboard. Oh, here we go. So just so you know, the agents on the team, Global Investor Agent team that serve the global investor groups, all have access to a lot of training. Just specifically on the team, they take initially what's called an investor agent training program. This is for just so you know what the agents go through to be able to work with you, to work with us investors. Then they can specialize in flipping or buying rentals, managing rentals, wholesaling, and even commercial. And we do have a lot of agents that inevitably aspire to do more commercial work. Just like investors, you start off with your flipping and your duplexes and eventually move your way up to the bigger properties. Everybody should know how to manage the rentals. And I think you should do both flipping and rentals. I'm not a big fan of wholesaling. What's interesting is everybody's still pushing wholesaling. And yet, guess what kind of a market wholesaling really works in? Would you say wholesaling works better in an up market or a down market? You can type in your answer or unmute yourself. Don't be shy, guys. It's just us. I'm just a regular person. So I like to say there's no wrong answers. Yeah, wholesaling works better in a down market. And yet all the gurus are still preaching it like it's the best thing in the world. And people wonder why they can't sell their deals because they're squeezing out too much profit out of the profit margin. So in any case, to get all these training programs, any investor can take these. If any of you do have you have questions on training, you're interested in taking some training, I'm not here to sell that. All I'm asking you is please check in with your investor agent, whether it's Shirley, Teresa, or Chris Latham and his wife Trish. Okay, check in with them, and they know how to get a hold of me. You guys, I mean, honestly, sometimes we do consultations. So this happens every week. So for example, Chris might be working with a flipper, and they're sort of stumped on something, or they have a question about strategy. They know how to set up a call with me, and you can actually talk to me if you want to. It doesn't cost anything. But what I'm getting at is, depending on where you're going and how much you want to do, if you decide you want to do training, I guess I should show you this. You don't have to spend, $25,000. And I mean, some of those guys I know personally. I know Thayer Merrill personally from Fortune Builders. I know Robert Kiyosaki. Where am I going here? Here we go. In any case, I'm not knocking what they do. They're still giving you good information, but what they're doing is they're pricing it based on what they know you'll pay, because if they show you can make $1 million, why wouldn't you spend 100,000? Okay. What I'm telling you is the material is the same material. I've seen it, right? And you can go here into courses, click on courses, and you can look at any program you want. Just click on any one of these. Here, let's click on the flipping one, okay? And you'll see there's 2 entry-level versions, all right? First, there's an introductory video showing you why you should flip and what you should know before you decide. And just like anything in life, there's always 2 options. You could get the instructor-led version, where you get direct access to the trainer and for a whole year and all the resources I showed you on the resource page. Or you could go through your investor agent and get the home study course, which is the same material. All right. The difference is you're just not getting a whole year of free access to all the resources with all the websites and the marketing campaigns and the recorded webinars and all that. And you don't get access to me. You'll get like a phone call, basically what's called a consultation. But you know what? You work with the right investor agent, that might be all you need. I just want to show you, most people will go look at this stuff. I just would, and I've developed it so I don't own it anymore. I get paid royalties. So it's one of the neat things about being an entrepreneur. You get to build businesses and sell them for big money, and you can move on and do the next thing. So every one of these programs I developed or co-developed. But in any case, for getting the book, Trish and Teresa and Shirley are the 3 investor agents on tonight. They're going to get an email from Beverly. Beverly is the one she's the executive admin for the company, and she knows who's in, she knows who's out, she knows who's on tonight. She will send them the link for you to get the book for free on flipping. Ultimately, you can get all the books you want for free, not the training programs, but the actual books. If you work with the investor agents, they know how to get you those books for free. But Beverly's going to send a link out for the flipping one tomorrow, so you get that automatically. In any case, guys, I think that's pretty much it for tonight. We could spend days and days and weeks going in the content, individual analysis forms, things like that. But did I do a good job of giving you a pretty good idea of the steps involved in some of the tools that you can use working with these guys on tonight? Did I phrase that correctly? I guess what I'm asking is, can you give me a grade? I'm looking for a grade because Beverly's going to watch the recording here, and I'll get graded on my presentation. So let's see how I did. And the next time I'm in town, I tell you what, we'll go to lunch because I'll be out there probably by late spring or early summer. Okay, so far Chris gave me a A+. Sandy gave me a great. Let's see, Chris Tulliver, great job. Can you send out the link you showed from your site that was basically a page with links, resources on it? Chris, I tell you what, check with either Shirley or Teresa. You're kind of equal distance between the 2 of them. I know Tahoe's a California city, but both of them are licensed in California. Okay, and only Shirley's licensed in Nevada as well. But they can get that kind of stuff for you. They, as members of the team, they have a lot of access. They're given a lot of rights to the material. Everything's copyright protected. But when I built this and turned it over, I in the contracts, I kept the rights to my own original material. I can't sell it because that could get me in trouble, but I can give it through the investor agents, and those all those links. That's part of that, Chris. Okay. So yeah, if you guys want to unmute yourself, I don't mind. I mean, I got a few minutes here. It's 12 after 11 here on the East Coast. So Chris Tolliver and I are up kind of late, but you know, I'm just going to go read and hit the hay. But I hope you guys like this. Every month, the global investor groups meet virtually on Zoom. I would check with your leaders here to get the schedule for the different time zones. And every 4 months, I come on live and do the teaching myself. We also bring in guests like a commercial lender who's on our team who lends in all 50 states. He only lends on investor deals. We have an attorney on the team. You know, these are folks you have access to, right? So and it doesn't cost you anything, you know, just to be part of the group. So I would check it out. So for any of our leaders, any of the group leaders, any questions from Shirley, Teresa, or Chris? Chris is asking, what would be a good amount to offer a bank to buy all other troubled assets, 50%? Right now, Chris, that the Bank of Nevada, that might work with them because they've got a pretty high troubled asset ratio. So the higher their troubled asset ratio, the more flexible they're going to be. Now, the other factor is the overall economy. So if more banks are in more trouble, you know, obviously that's, you know, go back to supply and demand. They know it's going to be competitive getting rid of their properties. And I have bought a lot of properties 50% on the dollar, hundreds of them. Okay. But it was in the down market. We're at the peak of the market now. So the reason I'm bringing this up here now is I want you guys to get used to working with these banks, get familiar with them, build the relationships, because, you know, we don't know if it's going to be this year, next year. Nobody knows. As long as the government's printing money and handing it out, you know, they're gonna artificially support the economy. All it's doing is exacerbating things. It's going to be worse when it happens. It's either going to be a bigger hit or it's going to take longer. It's a shame because most folks don't understand economics, and the government knows this, and yet they still do this. I mean, the deficit spending. Come on, if you and I lived our lives that way, ran our households that way, and ran our businesses that way, we'd probably not only be in financial trouble or in bankruptcy, we'd be in jail, right? If you and I printed money like the way they're printing money, it's a felony, it's a federal crime, but government does it. In any case, I'm not a political person. I'm non-government. I don't care what party anybody is. I'm like, you know, the government are not business people, you know? So in any case, back to this, I would say, be prepared. That's an old Boy Scout motto. Try to get on a cash basis if you're able to. That's the best position to be in, because when it does happen, you can cash is going to get you more deals than anybody who's borrowing. Money will tighten up. I guarantee you, it's already happening okay, let me explain this. You have traditional lending through like community banks, then you've got regional banks, you got national banks, and you got world banks. It's basically a pyramid, it's a pecking order. So the local community banks borrow from like the regional banks, okay? And those guys borrow from the bigger banks like Bank of America, who borrows from the Fed, okay? Well, the Fed isn't the top of the heap, right? It's like the World Bank, you know, Rothschilds and things like that. So the bigger capital markets are usually money from Wall Street, okay? They're outside the mainstream banking industry. They're like your hedge funds, asset managers, things like that. When they start pulling back on the money, that's usually several months ahead of the mainstream marketplace. It's already happening now, okay? We had one of my old students was doing a residential assisted living development in Naples, Florida, 110 units, okay, 110 units, and had the land bought, developed, the utilities, the whole 9 yards, and the capital markets dried up, okay? partly because of the virus, and the political year. So it has a trickle down effect. As they start tightening up, the traditional consumer markets start to follow suit, as long as the government doesn't pump out a lot of fake money. Now that's happening right now. They need stimulus packages coming in, probably March, who knows, maybe April. There's the PPP loans going out. They don't have to be paid back. You know, I'm not saying they're bad things in and of themselves. What I'm saying is they don't actually solve the problem. Okay, we got an overheating economy. This would have happened whether we had a virus or not. This was already cast in stone. Okay, the thing is, this is my 5th cycle. I learned what to do after the first 3 cycles. I applied it all to the last cycle, and the rest they say is history. So now I know what to do. I don't really worry about it. I worry about people, but I know what to do now, you know, and you can too. I'm not the only one. I'm just one person. You get better at this stuff. What I'm saying is, just be aware when you see capital markets drying up and people making 18, 20, 30 bids on individual properties, driving the prices up, we're going to have a correction. Okay, it's a mathematical certainty. So that probably sounds like bad news. It's not meant to be bad news. It's just news, and it's an opportunity. Because you think about it, in the last recession, did all those properties just get wiped off the face of the earth? No, they just changed hands, and they went into the hands of the investors. Okay, what I'm suggesting is either be one of the investors or be an investor agent, work with the investors. Okay, that way you can be part of the solution. Right, serve prosperity through service, serve others first, and you shall prosper as a result. So, okay, guys. If you let me, I'll keep preaching. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. I hope you have a wonderful night. I appreciate you being on this. Check in with your Chris Tolliver. There's 2 groups out your way. One is in New York City. A guy named Charlie runs it. You can find it. Meetup. It's called Global Investor Group. I think NYC. There's another one in northern New Jersey, out in Short Hills. Okay, run by a guy named Tom Silvestri. All right, both good guys. We got 32 investor groups around the country, so in most cases we can accommodate you, and we're always looking to create more groups. But in any case, I appreciate you being here tonight. I will see you. I do check in on the monthly ones, by the way. You know, every 4th month I'll teach directly, personally. You can ask me all the questions you want. It doesn't cost you a dime. I like to do it. I'm glad to do it. And if it helps you, then that's even better. So, all right, guys. Have an awesome. Yes.
I was just saying thank you. Thank you for hosting.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you, Teresa. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop the share here and let's see. Okay, so Shirley, Chris, and Sandy, awesome to see you all. And I hope you have a beautiful day tomorrow, even better weekend. And God bless you and your families, and stay safe.
Thank you for tuning in to the webinar tonight. If you're not part of the GIA team and you believe you can benefit from the platforms, the networking, the coaching, the educational opportunities, not to mention the leads that I've shared, learn more about working with me directly and the GIA team by following the link below where you can set up a call to speak with me. If you're interested in learning more about purchasing the Flipping for Profits Without the Risk training program, just click on the other link and learn more about it.